books. And the corporate Chanakya book is still the best-selling book on Amazon, even after 10 years of publication. He has traveled to around 20 countries and delivered more than 1,000 talks and presented many research papers at national and international conferences. He has also addressed IIT, IISc, RBI, the Bombay Stock Exchange, and the National Stock Exchange at many times. Dr. Pillai has been conferred with many awards. To name a few, Sardar Patel International Award for contribution to industrial development, Lokmat Award for Best Teacher of Philosophy, and Litofest Award at the House of Lords, the British Parliament, to name a few again. He's rated as the top 50 management thinkers from India by thinkers50.com. He has been retained to advise many organizations like Reliance Industries Limited, Economy Development Board Singapore, PricewaterhouseCoopers, JP Morgan, BRC, the Tatas and the Aditya Birla Groups, the Siemens, the Credit Suisse, the Deloitte, and the Bombay Management Association. He strongly believes management is an art that needs to be practiced to perfection to get the desired positive results at the end. He has always been advocating that uncertainty can always be managed with a clear mind and strategy. That is, as he popularly says, manasthiti. He means mind, but I think manandaristhiti in Telugu, is much over the paristhiti, which is the situation outside of us. We are all eagerly waiting to learn from him of the positive ways to overcome the uncertainties in life, especially during this extended pandemic, unheard of in the recent century. Luckily for us, after his talk, he has agreed to take a few questions in the Q&A. These can be sent in the chat box. We shall try and cover as many as possible. Once again, sir, a hearty welcome to you on behalf of all of us here in this Zoom call meeting. And may I now request Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai to deliver his webinar talk to us. Over to you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Namaskar. Happy Sankranthi. We just had one of the very important days in Indian culture, 14th of January. Different festivals are celebrated across India. But as they say, it's a Uttarayana period where, the day, whatever you start, it's always going to be progressive. So I would say we are starting this new year with Uttarayana, and of course, 14th Sankranthi just happened. So wishing you all the best for the future endeavors. My namaskar to the whole team at the Mumbai Telugu Samiti, and my special regards to Dr. Murthy, Sharmila Madam, who has been part of a lot of programs that I've been doing. Of course, Adurthi Rao sir, who has been instrumental in connecting us, and Savita ji, and all the other members and organizers who are a part of this particular program. And of course, my dear friends from different parts of India and different parts of the world, if there are any. Because Zoom doesn't have any geographical limitation. So with that, I would like to say a big thank you for giving me an opportunity to address such a wonderful community. The Telugu community is so close to my heart. Some of my best friends come from here. And as you know, this is an entrepreneurial community, a community which has survived the best of times, the worst of times, and a very, very important part of Indian culture. I always say this, when we look at the history textbooks, and the typical kind of impression that we get is, the people came from different parts of the world, they dominated us, they looted us. I listen to it and say, wait, that is only 50% part of India's history. Just go down the Vindhyachal mountains. The same time when the invasions, the Mughal invasions, the Portuguese invasions, everything was happening in the north, right below we were progressing. Let us not forget that glorification only on one side, that we were fighting wars against the invaders, but right below we were progressing. The Vijayanagara Empire, empire. If you look at in Kerala, right, or the Martanda Varma, if you look at the Chola Empire, all those people in the same period were expanding. Yes, so let us not take it that it is only one-sided. And our Andhra community, Telugu community has a specific big role to play in that particular development and evolvement of the Indian culture. So if you look at all great cultures across the world, India is considered the best. But among all the great traditions within India, the Telugu tradition has been one of the most contributing in different fields, be it arts, be it science, be it music, be it business now. So with all those things, it's an honor to be part of such a highly educated and respected community globally. And of course, the Mumbai members who are part of the financial capital, a big namaskars to each one of you. The topic that has been given is positive ways to overcome uncertainties in life. Yes. So when myself and Dr. Murthy were discussing what should be the topic, what should be the topic, then I said I can only speak on Chanakya, and then anything else I'm happy. So as long as Chanakya is there, I can go on speaking. But then it was a very nice discussion to say that this should have some takeaways which can be practically applied in any situation in life. And therefore, if you look at the current situation, we're all going through maybe the third wave, as they call it. There are different variants coming up. There are different problems coming up. So whether it's lockdown or unlocking, a lot of challenges are happening. But at the same time, the principles that we have in our great Indian tradition and Chanakya can help us to overcome a lot of problems. So I thought, I will share some of my thoughts, how we can be positive in situations which are uncertain. So with that, I'm going to start with a story. I'm sure everybody likes to listen to a story. Children, of course, like to listen to a story. But remember, there is always a child in you which is never going to die till you die. Okay? The stories are not meant only for children, but the child inside you. So let me start with a story of a company which was manufacturing books. Okay, so publishing books and all. And somebody gave them an idea saying that you're doing very well, in this particular country. Or let me try to become global, because Indian knowledge, Indian literature are very, very accepted globally now. So one of their salesmen, he said, okay, very good. Now you are a big salesman, you are a national head. And the managing director, the promoter told, now I want you to become an international sales head. This person is okay. So, but he says, and I don't know whether our Indian books will be accepted in other parts of the globe. He says, doesn't matter, go and try. Till you don't try, how do I know whether it's going to work or no? But I think we may have a global market. So he starts looking at different world. And then he says, go and do a pilot trip, go and do some assessment, talk to some people, talk to some distributors. And he looks at a lot of places. And then how can I go to a developed country like America, where there's already a book reading culture over there? He says, how about other continents, maybe Europe, then maybe Australia, saying that, oh, they're there. But suddenly he realizes, let me try and go to South Africa, where it is still a lot of countries are in the developing stage. I said, let me go. So his boss says, very good. I think that's the right strategy. Instead of going to the developed markets, let's go and develop a market. So immediately he goes, and in South Africa, he sees there is no great, education culture, even though the government is pushing. They are getting there. And he says, who is going to study all these? First of all, they don't study textbooks. And all this wisdom of India, traditional knowledge, they don't study. So he went to a few people and said, okay, but I don't think it will work. I don't think people will pay. Immediately, he called his boss back to India and saying that, I don't think this market is ready for books. Now, why? Because, there's a lot of illiteracy. There is no reading culture. There is no great respect for, some new topics to be studied and discovered. So I don't think our books will sell over here. The boss says, I'm immediately sending you 2 trucks or 2, I would say, containers of books. I said, why? Why? What happened? Why are you sending? I'm telling you, there is no market. He said, in fact, there is more market there. How come? I don't think nobody's going to read. Exactly. If there is illiteracy, that is the point where actually you should give books. If they have no awareness of Indian culture, that is an opportunity to actually make them aware. So you think there is no market, I think big market, an untouched market. And then he immediately sends 2 containers of books. He just goes and distributes to everyone and saying that try it out. And then he goes and distributes and talks to a few people. And suddenly they start realizing that everybody is interested in our books, our culture. And slowly, slowly, the books start selling. And definitely, he becomes an international salesman. What does it mean by this particular story? I'm sure some of you must have heard a similar version with a salesman who actually was selling shoes. He went to a particular place and he called his boss and saying that here nobody wears shoes. You know, they're very, very tribal in nature. They don't understand what is wearing shoes and chappals. The boss says, no, this is the market. This is a place where, you know, if nobody's wearing shoes, we can introduce the shoes. And suddenly he also gets a lot of sales orders. Friends, situation did not change. But in the same situation, somebody can look it as a problem while somebody can look at it as an opportunity. So it is not the situation that matters. It's actually the mindset that matters. Dr. Murthy pointed out 2 words, paristhiti and manasthiti. Paristhiti and manasthiti. So what is paristhiti? The situations. Remember, situations outside are never under control because everything will keep changing. Change is the only constant. But what can be changeless is your positive mindset. So your manasthiti has to be developed to handle every paristhiti. I repeat, your manasthiti should be made so positive that it can handle any paristhiti. How to do that? I will give you 3 tips, 3 practical tips from Chanakya. Any situation in life, personal, professional, or anything which is physical or even mental, you would be surprised to know you can solve all problems if you follow these 3 tips. And these 3 tips come from the wisdom of Chanakya. Yes, I only know one person, Chanakya, but that one person knows all the subjects. Yes, so he is somebody whom we will say he is a master of all trades. We have heard the statement, jack of all trades, master of none. But here is a person who is a master of all trades. And that's why when you study Arthashastra, you will understand why Chanakya is respected even today. His principles are not ancient, they are eternal. And these principles were applied in politics. He was a political scientist. These principles were applied in economics, law, legal system, military, foreign policies, doing trade, commerce, criminal psychology, so many places, geopolitics. So it doesn't matter which field you are, which profession you follow. Dr. Murthy told me we are all from different professions, different backgrounds. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a human mind, these 3 tips will help you. So it is not which profession, where you stay, what you do, what age group you are in that matters. These 3 tips from Chanakya will be like a benchmark for making your mind positive in every uncertain situation. So what are these 3 things that I want to teach you? Actually, these 3 are 3 words that I have picked up from the Arthashastra. So it's not difficult to remember also. Of course, the recording is on, it will be live, you can refer to it. But if you want to take notes also, you can do so. But even if you don't want to take notes physically, you can take mental notes. Yes, it's very, very easy to remember. So let me start with the first thing to handle any situation. Remember, these are Sanskrit words. It may be new to you, but it will become permanent with you after this particular session. So the first word is Anvikshiki. I'll repeat the word. Anvikshiki. I'm sure for many of you it may be a new word, like it was for me. And 21 years ago, I started to explore Chanakya's wisdom in the Arthashastra. Let me help you pronounce it. Anvikshiki. This is the first subject Chanakya teaches for his students in the Arthashastra. He says, Pradipaha sarva vidyana, upayaha sarva karmanam, shashvat anvikshiki mata. So my mata, my opinion is Pradipaha sarva vidyanam. Pradipa means light, a lamp. Sarva vidyanam, you may have a lot of knowledge, okay, of different subjects. You may technically be qualified. You may be an expert in a particular industry. But he says no. But whatever you do, first understand, study, and master Anvikshiki. So what is Anvikshiki? Even though he says it's a light that will guide you in darkness, let us understand what is Anvikshiki. When situations are dark, you require light, and that light is called Anvikshiki. Anvikshiki means the right method of thinking. You know, everything around may be not in the right position, but if you are able to think properly in the right positive manner, you will be able to master the situation. So it is not the outside that matters, it is the inside that matters. And when you say inside, it is the intellect that matters. A problem is that we have three things that we work with. One is the hands, second is the heart, and third is the head. We call it the 3H: hands, heart, and the head. Unfortunately, we are more emotional, but along with having emotions, we should also be rational. And if you look at the biological structure, God has given us a heart, He has given us hands, but He has kept the head above the two. So are you thinking properly? So Chanakya says it's important to understand strategic thinking, and that subject is called as Anvikshiki. So the first step is use Anvikshiki in every situation. What is the meaning of using Anvikshiki? You know, when we were in our school days, it was very clearly told that think twice before you do. Measure twice before you cut. You know, the tailor's rule, you cannot just keep cutting. So be sure. And they say, think twice before you speak. Listen more than you open your mouth. Unfortunately, what happens? We react to situations, not respond to situations. We react to situations, not respond. What is the difference between reacting and responding? When something comes, it is natural for us to instinctively react. But if you take some time and then use the whole brain intellect of yours and then get back and do an action, that is called response. So those people who can take a small gap, not just become emotional, but at the same time think about the situation, rationalize it, and then take a decision, believe me, every problem can be solved. You will have emotions, but you should not become emotional. Man without emotions is stone. You will have emotions. So emotions is natural, but don't get emotional. You will have sentiments, but don't become sentimental. In India, we are known to be the emotional part of us being very high. We are known for that. Yet, Chanakya says, in any situation, in any paristhiti, keep your intellect very, very, very clear. Don't clutter your intellect. Think twice. Think 100 times. But once you think, then only you should do. I would like to use some Hindi over. अगर आग लगी है, suppose there is fire, वही आग बुझा सकता है जो सोच सकता है. You know, let's say somebody goes, oh, fire, 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 where is fire, where is fire? Oh, the neighbor's house is on fire. Wait. What is the first impression that you have in your mind when you listen to a situation, a paristhiti, When you say there is fire around, you immediately get the concept of fear. But that is reaction, and it's natural because fire can actually burn out not only that house, but your house and the whole building or the whole society. But if you come to know there is fire, everybody is panicking. Wait, I'm not telling you go and meditate. Well, you have to now decide what to do immediately. It's a crisis situation. And he says, wait, where is the fire? Oh, inside the neighbor's house. Wait, are the people safe? Because for me, more than the house, the people in the house are important. He says, yeah, 3 of them have come out. Okay, so the people are out. Second, think, where is the fire? In the kitchen. Okay, real situation. Wait, let's think through in detail. Is it still in the kitchen? Or is it come to the bedroom and the hall? He says, no, it's still in the kitchen. Good. So you start looking at it positively and say, yes, the people are safe. The fire is still in the kitchen. You may ask the next question. Just go. And while you're going, you say the first step of safety is already there. If let's say there are 3 people and 2 people have come out, your first priority is to bring out the third person. And you know, think very practically and say, wait, can I do it? You have to assess the situation using your intellect. If you can do it, you should do it. But the thing is that if it is a difficult thing, you will require help. You'll have to call other friends. And of course, you'll also have to call the experts, call the fire brigade. Now think about it. It will take a few minutes or maybe a few seconds to actually assess. But if you react, you'll not be able to solve the problem. Interestingly, you will become part of the problem. Remember, if you're not thinking, you will not solve the problem, you will add on to the problem. And this we have seen in a lot of organizations. Many times, the decision makers are actually problem makers. So what will be the situation? I'll give a very simple example. Today, the third wave of Corona, Omicron is all there. But let me tell you very clearly, be careful, but don't be fearful. I repeat these words. Be careful. Of course, you have to be careful, but don't be fearful. Now think about it. The leader becomes fearful. He or she gets into a panic mode. Oh, I don't know what to do. Then what happens? Okay, there is Omicron. We have to be careful. Let us see what is to be done. Okay, so if you take a small break in your thinking, you actually will contribute to the solution rather than the problem. Now, let us look at some more dimensions. When you're thinking, okay, even though we say we have to look at things positively, but a practical mind is thinking very differently. How? So when you're assessing a situation using Anvikshiki, the art of thinking, Anvikshiki means the art of thinking, you look at the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. A lot of people in positive, they go to the extreme. They don't look at the reality. So take it the best case situation and the worst case situation. And when you look at both the ends, you will be able to look at the situation practically. For example, when people are buying life insurance, okay? When you look at life insurance, the salesman is trained to handle human emotions. Because what is he telling you? He's actually telling you that one day you will die. No. How can I die? How can I? Then he said, wait. I'm not telling that you will die today. But suppose something happens to you, be ready for a backup plan. Then you apply your mind, you cool down a little bit, come out of the emotional thing about death and say, yeah, it's better to plan. And therefore, you're looking at the best case scenario. And he says, today there are life insurance up to 100 years also. Yes, because people's life expectancy has grown up. Saying that if you don't die within 100 years, no problem. So if you don't die, that's great. So best case scenario. But if you die, the worst case scenario, your family will be benefited from your planning. You'll be surprised. I have a friend who's an insurance agent in US. And he says when death happens in families, we are the only people who come with a positive news. And saying that people have died, what is the news? Because you are the people who insure your life. So we go to that family with the check and saying that here is the money. Think about it. Worst situation, we are the only people who are welcome. Otherwise, there'll be creditors, debitors, there'll be people who will be saying that, your husband died or this person died and there's money to pay. First of all, you're not in that mind state. But because you looked at it practically, even the life insurance agent comes and say positive. That's why LIC of India has a beautiful tagline. Zindagi ke saath bhi aur zindagi ke baad bhi. Now, this is a very important thing to look at situations practically. So look at the best situation, but also be ready for the worst situation. This is Anvikshiki. Next, there is a lot of optimism, and we have to be optimistic. We have to be positive. But the problem is that we sometimes get to the extreme of optimism. So Chanakya would say, don't be optimistic, but don't be pessimistic. Be realistic. Very important. Too much optimism can take you to an imaginary fantasy world. Aise ho jayega, this will happen, that will happen. Hey, leave it. Some people are so negative, nothing can happen. Nothing can happen. Whatever you do, they will never be able to see the positive side. So, yes, too much optimism can make you impractical. A lot of people are there. I have seen a friend of mine who actually developed a software. And that software, by the time he developed, he put a lot of money and everything he put away. And he had hired almost 200, software engineers. After 2-3 years of hard work, he went to the market to sell the product. The reality was that software was outdated. Okay, so people said, no. And he believed, he was very optimistic. I don't know, he must have heard some motivational speakers. Well, like, karenge. And then everybody was saying, no, not relevant. Also. But he believed in himself. He was over-optimistic. 2-3 months, 4-5 months, 6 months, no cash flow, but there is a salary to be given to people. Now he got too optimistic. Actually, he should have been realistic. He should have thought, okay, if the client is giving a feedback that is outdated, I have to just upgrade it. Maybe just add a few features. But he was not practical. He believed that his product is the best in the market. But the reality is that the product was so irrelevant. He should have just done a little bit of a strategic thinking, just upgraded that, and the whole product would have been sold. The reality is that for the next 2 years, okay, he got the feedback it's not going to be working. 2 years, he still believed that his product is the best. And as you know, in technology field, the day something new comes out, it is already old. But he never believed in the reality. Look what happened to Kodak. Look what happened to BlackBerry. Look what happened to Nokia. But he was not ready. He waited. And I know this is a personal friend of mine who lives in Mumbai itself. Finally, his wife was so frustrated. Just telling me, this guy is stuck in time. And he had to then personally sell off his house. He was almost on the streets because how to pay so many people, all that. 3, 4, 5 crore rupees he put from his own personal savings. Finally, somebody had to shake him up and say, wake up to realities. You should have corrected yourself or left this. So, we all tried to help him out with the right mindset. Finally, of course, then he went on and wind up the business, started something new. So now he's stable. And think about it, those 5 years of struggle. Why? Because he was too optimistic. So I'm not telling don't be positive, but remember, be practical and realistic. Now, let us look at a situation where it doesn't matter whether you're a businessman, a professional, or working somewhere. Fear will always hit you. Like today, Omicron, everybody is afraid. What will happen? Now, if you apply Anvikshiki, what is the worst case scenario? You'll die. That's all. What is the best case scenario? It is just cough and cold called as new variant. Okay, now you look at your mind is not saying that I will not be careful. I will not consult the doctors. But remember, Anvikshiki makes your mind stable just to handle any situation. I've seen people who are dying just because of fear, and I've seen people who are dying without fear. Death is 100% guaranteed. But can you actually have a fearless death? See, it's a very, very important point I'm telling. And today what is happening, that it's come to an extent that people are not moving out of their houses. They're so much in a mental state, they say, no, I can't go out. Why? Because that virus will come. My dear friends, virus will anyway come. If it decides to come, it doesn't require a carrier. It will carry itself anyways. So we have to be careful. All the norms that has been put, social distancing, masking, all has to be done. But remember one thing, that is not the only way you can protect yourself. It's the mind that protects. And I'll tell you my own personal instance, sir. When the second wave happened, and all of you know the second wave was very bad, a lot of people died and all. So in our building, I stay in this building in Mulund, so there was a family which was quarantined. Okay, there's a family which was quarantined, and the whole family, okay, there were four. There was an elderly couple, their son and their daughter-in-law. So they were there, and suddenly what happened, the son and the daughter-in-law, okay, they could not go out, but the mother and the father had to be hospitalized. Now they can't go out, okay, but the parents had to be hospitalized. So they called me and said, Radha, can you help? Okay, can you help? Because my parents required to go. No, I can't go because I'm only quarantined and all these things. Now, natural, what will you do? He is your neighbor, he is your friend, and corona positive, and he's telling you to go and take your parents. Now you're thinking about my family, you are thinking about what is going to happen with my father. My father is 86 years old. Now what to do? Because my wife is already frightened. We have two young children. Acha dunya ka chodo, apna dekho. And I thought, no, that is being very selfish. Let us be practical. And I said, okay, let me go to consult somebody. Okay. Remember, in every situation, you need to have somebody whom you can go to. Sometimes you cannot take a decision in such situation. I immediately went to my father. And I said, Papa ji, 86 years, what is your suggestion? The Papa said, beta, story bolta hu. Situation is corona and Papa is a storyteller. ठीक है, कहानी सुनेंगे. During those days, there came a stage when there was a plague in South Africa. Plague, very a contagious disease. Today we have found solution for plague and some other diseases, and God will keep sending you new diseases also. Okay. So when plague came in, and during those days, the communication wasn't great, and there were organizations like Red Cross. Remember Red Cross? Okay, it's a part of UN, wherein it was and all. So they were going, and Gandhiji and his team also went. It was happening that this plague was spreading in a lot of places, and it so happened that people were running away. Even Red Cross people ran away. They said, this plague will come on us. They're supposed to be saviors, like doctors who save life, but they were only afraid they went. But Gandhiji and his team went into all the villages, and you would be surprised. You would be surprised that Gandhiji and his team of workers, social workers, they were right in the midst of the plague. They were working. Of course, they have been putting masks and all whatever. And you will be surprised. None of them got affected. None of them got affected. Yeah. Because Gandhiji believed there is a spiritual power if you are selflessly working that helps you, protects you. And I was asking my papa, ये सब कहानी क्यों बोल रहे हो? अभी यहाँ पे कोरोना प्रॉब्लम है, फोन आया, I have to reply back in the next 5 minutes. They have to be hospitalized. You know what my father said? He said, you have to go. That's your duty. Okay, there's a time. But the next question, what about corona to me? And he put a beautiful line. Even if you die in the process, I'll be proud of you. Now think about it. That is not a small statement for a single boy. I don't have a brother and a sister. Okay. But that gave me that positive spiritual energy. And he told the other line also. If you live without going there, I'll be very unhappy. तुम यहाँ पे बैठ जाओगे. ठीक है कोरोना का डर के, but that person is expecting that his parents will actually be hospitalized through you. You'll be surprised. I did hospitalization, everything. I was running around for 18 days from hospital to hospital. Nothing has happened. I'm not telling you that, this is a thing that nothing will happen to you. But every day I came back, I did all my things, whatever the doctors were suggesting and all those things. But today when I look back, I said, thank you, Papa, for giving that energy. There is something beyond the world. So remember, friends, you have to think through it. But before you take an action, there is a second step, okay, which I'm going to be sharing. First is Amrikshiki, think. What is the second step? The second step is called as Vriddha Sanyogaha. Vriddha Sanyogaha. So when you are in a difficult situation, in uncertain situations, how do you become positive? Talk to Vriddha. Vriddha means elders, experts. Sanyogaha, go and contact them. That is what I did. I asked a Vriddha, a wise person, my own father. When you talk to them, they will tell you what to do and what not to do. Therefore, it is said, when you don't know what to do, talk to an expert. Our problem is we want to solve all the problem ourselves. Who are you? कहते हैं ना हिंदी में, तुम किस खेत की मूली हो? Okay. So Chanakya is very clear. Never start anything without consulting an expert. Okay. For example, I want to start business. I'm a first generation businessman. Whom will you go to? A person who is working. My dear friend, you have been working in a company for 25 years, salary to salary. Teach me how to do business. What can he teach you? Okay. You should go to a businessman who is successful in business, not failure in business. Today, we can have technology also as Vriddha. Okay. How can you use technology as Vriddha? Yes. Today, artificial intelligence, human beings can use technology in a very big way to get ideas. For example, let's say I'm going from Mumbai to a different place for the first time. There is something called as Google Maps. Now, Google Map is a collection of information and experience of so many people, isn't it? So Google Map may be a tool, but the Google Map has got Vriddhas contributing. So let's say I'm going from one place to another. I have never been to that place, but there's so many people who went to that place. And the satellites are giving me real-time directions. So it's a human being or using technology. For example, I don't know anything. I go to Google and search. I will get ideas. Let me also tell you, friends, you can use technology, but the best way to solve any problem is not just information, but insights from wise people. So, we have so many people who are over here who have experience. Our problem with the young generation is that they think they are smarter. They may be smarter than us, but they cannot be wiser than us. Very important. The young generation can be smarter than us, but they can't be wiser than us. Wisdom comes through 3 E's. E. Wisdom comes from 3 E's. One is called education. The more educated you are, you become wise, isn't it? Unfortunately, children may be more educated than us. Still not guaranteed. After education, the second E is exposure. Yes, exposed. Again, the children may be more exposed, isn't it? Or sometimes they have traveled more countries, they've worked in different places, they have, seen maybe different worlds. Maybe we are also exposed to different worlds, to a different tradition. Education, exposure. But third is very important to make you wise. That is called experience. So when you have the 3 E's, education, exposure, the 3 will make you wise. So friends, whenever you have a problem, go to the wise people. And in our great Indian culture, we have the habit of respecting elders, isn't it? We call them gurus, we call them mentors, we call them guides. And our great Indian culture, and all of us follow it even today, there is a concept called as Grama Devata. What is Grama Devata? When you go to a village, you don't go home directly. First, you go to that Grama Devata and say, "Oh goddess, is gaon ke rakhwali karne wale, please give us permission," isn't it? Hukum raji to sab raji. So you are taking the blessings of the elders. Even now in wedding cards, don't we put the first name of the elders in the family? Isn't it? So that is a very powerful way of handling situations. When you fight a battle alone, you are just one person handling the challenges. But imagine you have a complete family with you. In fact, it is said in India, you will never get your daughter married because marriage is a big thing, especially Kanyadan is a big thing. So हमारे यहाँ पे कहावत है कि मेरी बेटी की शादी नहीं हो रही है, मेरी गांव की बेटी की शादी हो रही है. So the whole villagers come in and contribute to the wedding. Today, unfortunately, from a village system, it became a joint family system to a nuclear family system. And now there are individuals staying together. They may not be connected also. My dear friends, it is said in our great culture, you require a village to bring up a child, not just a family. Okay? So our most of the mental health problems start because you want to solve the problem yourself. You don't want to take the advice of experts. But those people who take the advice of experts, Vriddha Sanyoga, will have challenges. Yet they will be able to solve the challenges positively because there is a grace of the wise people. Two examples of the modern day era. Dhirubhai Ambani, creator of Reliance, not so educated, everything like that. But he knew that if I have experienced people on my side, I can win the biggest game, not the big game, the biggest game. He had a very different mindset. So when he went into petroleum, he did not have any qualification, experience, and all those things. But you know what he did? Not many people are aware of it. He made a list of retired people from the government departments who were chairmen of HPCL, BPCL, ONGC. Think about it. In governments, after you retire, nobody values you, isn't it? जब तक पावर है तब तक आते हैं, पावर चला गया कोई नहीं आता है. Dhirubhai Ambani was smart. He knew these are the smart guys. Nobody values them, but I value their experience. He took them on his board. He asked them, "Kaise karna hai, kaise karna hai, kaise karna hai?" He respected them also. And today he made Reliance Petroleum the largest one. So दूसरों से सीखो और उनसे भी आगे लेके जाओ. This is one thing that we Indians should know. Our elders have to be respected because they give you the wisdom to handle any situation. I'll give you another simple example. There's a businessman. He was going through a loss. Okay. And there's this old lady. Okay. Gujarati family. So this old lady had seen many ups and downs because that community itself is a business community. So beta aata tha घर पे से आता था, very tired. Then the mother, old lady, saw my son struggling. Looks like there is some problem. So 2-3 days she will leave it because husband also used to do business. Her husband's father also used to do. So hey, oh business खून में है ना. So बैठे थे. But he saw after 1 week also. So many times that business problem settles on its own, but it is not settling. Then the mother called the son. Beta, क्या हुआ? Uncertainty. What happened, beta? Business का problem. हाँ, माँ जी, business no problem छे. So problem छे. इतना लाखों का अभी तक मेरे को पैसा नहीं मिला, outstanding नहीं मिला, loss हुआ. He started smiling. Saying that, beta, you know what? If you lost money, somebody else has made money. What a wisdom, right? Remember, she's not a businesswoman, but she's many people who have done businesses in front of her. Remember, suppose you lost 10 lakh rupees. And when somebody has gained 10 lakh rupees, now you do one thing, bless that person, you got that man, you keep working hard. You'll be surprised. In 3 months' time, the whole business revived. No banker, nobody came, but he had a positive mindset and said, oh yeah, that makes sense. Money is not lost. Money has got transferred to somebody else. Bless that guy. Isn't that wisdom important? So friends, always remember the second quality, Vriddha Sanyogaha. All of us should have mentors, guides in our life, in every situation. And we require guidance from birth till death. A lot of people say, now I'm old, I don't require mentoring. No, you'd be surprised today. One of the biggest problems in a city like Mumbai is that if somebody dies, old person, the children don't know the funeral rites. Isn't it true? So they suddenly call up panic mode, what to do, because people are not there and all those things. So the child requires guidance, an old person requires guidance. And let me tell you, you require guidance in death also. The problem is that we only take guidance for things like making money, doing business, profession, study, all is important. But you require mentorship in dying. You will be surprised. Is it so? Yes. It happens even today, even in a city like Mumbai. Please study the Jaina culture, the Jainism, and you can see a lot of them in many parts of Mumbai because a lot of Gujaratis Jains are there. There is a concept called as Santhara. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. What is Santhara? It means wishful death. Wishful death, it is not suicide, okay? Okay, you can choose your death. It's called Ichha Maran. I was doing some studies of social patterns in India. You must recollect this maybe in your own family, in your own community, maybe a few generations ago. The old people will say, "Ab mera samay aa gaya hai." Isn't it? Now it's time to leave. They were not afraid of death. Today, because of this whole medical thing, they keep pushing your age, and it is called reverse aging. You can live for 100 years, but death is guaranteed. Okay, so the wisdom says that you should look at death positively. Today, death is a catastrophe in our life. People fear death. Tell me one thing. Our Bhagavad Gita says this very clearly. You never die. Soul never dies. It's a body that has become old. I'll come back. But nobody trains us. Today, pharma industry will keep pushing you so many things. Medicine, kidney kharab ho gaya, replacement. Heart kharab ho gaya, replacement. We have made this body a machine, not a tool towards godhood. So somebody has to come and tell you, listen, tumhara samay aa gaya hai. So in the Jainism culture, even today, people give up their bodies. Yes, Santhara. But they cannot decide. If they decide that I'm marne wala hu, then it is suicide. You know what they do? They go to their gurus, the Jaina Munis, and only the Jaina Muni will give permission. Ha, beta, now the time for you to leave. And slowly, there is a process of leaving of the body. We have lost that great process. We don't know how to live. We don't know how to die. जीते जीते मर गए और मरने के टाइम भी जीना नहीं है. So today look at corona situation, so much fear. I actually pity the senior citizens. उसको घर में बंद करके रखते हैं यार. In the name of what? Fear. What fear of what? They have lived a life. I would take an example of the Japanese culture of dying. I don't know if you're aware of. A few years ago, much before the corona and everything started, there was this nuclear reactor in Japan. I think there was some problem. I don't know if you remember. That's very important thing. So what happened? The nuclear reactor was, and they were trying to solve, and they realized the people who will go and try to correct the nuclear reactor problem, you will be surprised that they will die. Okay, they will die. You know what happened? All the retired nuclear scientists came forward and saying that all the young scientists, piche jao. We are going to go in, we'll work, because anyway we are going to die. We are just now living. But thank you so much for giving us a purpose to die. See, this is a very positive way in uncertainties, isn't it? So they went to the government. They said, we have worked in this institution, like let's say a retired scientist who knows everything. Let me tell you, friends, live life and face death very positively. Not मरने वाला है, मरने वाला है, मरने वाला है. अरे मरने वाला है तो ऐसे मरो कि मरने के बाद भी आपकी जिंदगी दूसरों को काम आए. Inspiration. Now I come to the last and the third point. And the third point is Mitra Sambandha. Mitra Sambandha. What is Mitra? Friends. For solving any problem, any uncertainties in life, the best way to be positive is to have a lot of friends. Chanakya says, never fight a battle alone. Take some friends along. I repeat it. Never fight a battle alone. Take some friends along. अकेले लड़ा तो क्या लड़ा, दोस्तों के साथ लड़ा तो लड़ने में भी मजा आया. Our problem is that, it's my problem. It's my problem. And today we have become so individual. We don't share our problems. The young generation, I'm worried. They think this mobile and this internet is a great communication tool. Kuch nahi. Out of that Facebook 5,000 friends and some 50,000 and million followers, nobody will come to you. But if you genuinely have 5 friends, will stand by with you in good and bad times. That is what you require. My dear friends, remember, life is always uncertain. Uncertainty is a part of life. Nobody can predict what is going to be. If you're certain, then it is not a life. Okay, if it is uncertain, then that is a beautiful life. How do you solve uncertainty? Always have friends with you. Let me tell you, friends are so important in life. And not just friends, where we are selfish and using uska context. But friendship is when you give. So we cannot be selfish in friendship. We have to be selfless in friendship. So look at a situation. He gets stuck. Let me tell you, there was Krishna with him. Krishna got ready and said, no problem, I will guide you. And Arjuna was saying, no, I don't want to fight. I don't want to do that. Crying. And he said, Murak. Okay. Friends are the best people who can give you direct galis. Oh, useless guy. Oh, Vimud Atma. You. And it took 18 chapters. I pity Krishna. बेचारे को किधर लेक्चर देना पड़ा, आत्मज्ञान का lecture in a battlefield. To whom? The greatest warrior of all time. Now, Arjuna was the greatest skilled warrior, but manasthiti gone. Looking at the paristhiti, Meri Guru Maharaj, this, that, and all. Krishna says, tak. After 18 chapters, he gets up and said, yes. So part 1 of Arjuna is when he's ready to fight. But part 2 is also important. Krishna guides him continuously. You're ready to fight. Now I'll teach you how to fight. So he'll tell you a strategy with this warrior, a Bhishmacharya is different. A strategy with Dronacharya is different. A strategy with somebody else is different. So you understand, you cannot think in difficult, uncertain situations. If you have friends, they will think for you. हम अपने बुरे समय में अच्छा सोच नहीं सकते. हमारे दोस्त हमें अच्छा सोचने में मदद करेंगे. Very important. So friends नहीं होंगे तो आपका life will be very lonely. And friends रहेंगे तो परिस्थिति negative भी हो, you will look at it positively. In fact, in कौन बनेगा करोड़पति, all of you know this, right? कौन बनेगा करोड़पति, when the person doesn't know what to do, there is one option. It's called phone a friend. Remember? It's called lifeline. It is not an ordinary word. I love the word lifeline. So 3 lifelines, but the most beautiful is phone a friend. Hello, I don't know this answer. No problem, I'll Google it. So when you don't know how to get what you want, your friend will tell you. But let me tell you, friends, we have become so self-centered. We don't like to give. Friendship is not about getting. Friendship is about giving. And giving without asking. If you ask and you're given, then what kind of a friend are you? Okay, so a lot of people have this. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Even if there is no need, the friend should come. For example, today we have lost that whole culture, and especially the corona has doubled it only. You know what is happening? That we actually forget to wish our own dear and near friends. You don't meet them in good times and bad times also. It is said, suppose there is a good event, maybe a child's birthday, a wedding, whatever, you have to go and meet that person. You cannot send a WhatsApp message, hey, happy birthday, what happy birthday? We require that human touch. In bad times, somebody has expired, That time, my friends, when the human beings require socialization face to face, digital can help, but nothing can replace face to face. But actually, I'm looking forward, when things improve, I'm going to meet each one of you face to face. And let me tell you, the energy that you get by meeting somebody face to face is very different. So think about it, you're in a very bad situation, you don't know what to do. A friend comes and taps and says, "Koi baat nahi, main tere saath hu." That energy cannot be, received by reading some motivational book. Acha, difficult times, what to do? Read a book, self-help. What to do in difficult times? What to do in difficult times? Phone a friend. Hello, idara. What happened? दिमाग नहीं चल रहा है, no problem, मैं दिमाग चलाता हूँ. Please understand this. This is not about modernity. It is about humanity. It's not about modernity, it's about humanity. Human beings require each other. We are social beings. We require discussions. We require face-to-face conversation. Otherwise, we land up in a lot of mental health problems. One of the reasons why mental health are going is they're isolating ourselves. They're becoming individuals. And we human beings can never, ever, ever survive as individuals. You may live as an individual, but you will survive only together. You can as an individual, freedom, but you will never survive as an individual. We survive collectively. So friends, when you find somebody whose problem is very deep, genuine, you go out. Chanakya says, don't wait to approach a friend. Go and do it yourself. A friend should not approach your problem. अरे पहले problem से मैं पहुंच जाता हूँ. I'm the solution. So look at it. 3 things. Number 1, use your intellect. And that is Anvikshiki. Second, Vriddha Sanyoga. Take the blessings and guidance of elders. Okay, they will tell you one tip and everything will turn around. Third is Mitra Sambandha. So these are the 3 things. But while going, I want to tell you very important as I'm winding up. All these 3 tips can be only understood if you have a spiritual base. See, I'm not looking at the Western model of reading some books. Hey, positive. You can do it. How? I don't know. You can. All this is fine. Okay, at one stage, it is like, basic primary education. You have to go to the next level of secondary education. And afterwards, of course, you have to go to the highest level where you are the inspiration for others. First, you get inspiration from others. Then you have to inspire others. And for that, you have to have a spiritual base. A person who has got the foundations of spirituality actually is the one who can understand every uncertainty. Only when you become a bhakta, then you will understand bhakti ki shakti. Imagine people were ready to die. Why? Because they were having desha bhakti during the freedom struggle. And let me tell you, if you are running an office or you're a businessman, remember in our country, okay, even a business was given a spiritual name. It was called Udyog. Ud Yoga. Ud means uplifting the society through wealth creation. It's a yoga entered. You actually inspire them to be solved in a worldly manner. Actually, the reality is other way around. You can solve worldly problem only through a spiritual solution. So have faith in God. This great culture in India is God-centered. शादी भी करते तो भगवान का नाम लेके, घर में जाते हैं भगवान का नाम लेके, ऑफिस जाते हैं भगवान का नाम लेके. This is a beautiful culture. So I would say the best positive way to overcome any uncertainties in life is to have faith, shraddha, and trust in God. And once you achieve it, all problems actually will not matter to you because you have the faith in God. So finally, I like to wind up with one sentence. Don't tell God how big the problem is, because when you have problems, you go to God. Don't tell God how big the problem is. Tell the problem how big God is. Tell the problem how big God is. Corona se mat bachana, Corona se bachana. If Corona comes, I listen, I have God on my side. I am chanting Hanuman Chalisa every day 3 times. Come. So my dear friends, have faith. And whatever comes, do your best and leave the rest. Do your best and leave the rest. Thank you. Namaskar.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. You brought up everything in a very concise manner. Some of the elders here may think that they know some of the things that you have told, but you have practically brought it out to many, how that can be very valuably used, because some of us would have forgotten some of them. Thank you indeed. I would like Savita Garu to take over and do the rest.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, sir, there are a few questions in the chat box, and I'm reading one of them. Can you outline some basic do's and don'ts of leadership?
And thank you so much. That's my field, I teach leadership alone. Leadership. So there are a lot of do's and don'ts. But as you rightly pointed out, what are the basics, okay, of leadership? So let me start with what you should do. Chanakya is very clear, saying that a leader's attitude should be for the service of the praja. Okay, so let's say Raja. So it's Arthashastra, it says, praja sukhe sukham rakyaha prajanam cha hite hitam. So a leader should do what? Seva. That means service of the people. Praja ke sukh mein raja ka sukh hai. So don't look at your happiness. Look at the happiness of the people. So a leader who is focused on the happiness of his people actually are the great leaders. So do everything focused on the people. Let's say you're a business leader. Okay, there you say customer service. If the customer is happy, the business will survive. If the customer is not happy, the business will go on. So the service attitude, seva bhav. Now, what is the don'ts in leadership? Leadership also gives you certain power. And as they say, with great power comes great responsibilities. The Spider-Man movie, very famous dialogue. Unfortunately, what happens when people get into power, especially politicians, I've seen many of them. Not all politicians are bad, but some of them. They should be using the power for the service of people, isn't it? Power is for seva. But unfortunately, those in power wants to go to the next level of power. So power game में फंस जाते हैं, सेवा भाव खत्म हो जाती है. So very simple. A lot of things you can do in leadership if you have the right power, right attitude. But remember, never be selfish in leadership. So do everything as a service and don't do anything which is selfish. You will be respected and remembered as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, this question is actually mine. Many a times in uncertain times, we are not in a framework of thinking in right way. How to practice it, sir?
Very true, very true. When you are not in the right frame of mind, it's important for discussion, isn't it? And when you discuss, it looks like, kisse baat kare kya, but you decide, sometimes you're just phoning up a friend or meeting somewhere. When you discuss, what happens suddenly, that whole thing goes away. But if you're only thinking about it, you make a big mistake. Instead of thinking through solutions, you start worrying over problems. Same mind, you're not able to think. At least discuss, kisi se baat karo, and the wiser the person, the better it is. Our problem is, हम लोग चिंता करते हैं, चिंतन नहीं करते. Instead of thinking for a solution, we actually worry over the solution, worry over the problem. What to do? Okay, in uncertain times, we're not in a frame of mind and thinking. What I'm saying is that take a break. Take a break matlab kya? Ye to problem khada hai. Wait. Take a small break. Chanakya says that even in an urgent matter, okay, what you should do, take a small break, 5 minutes break. Go out, empty your whole problem and said, okay, fine. So in a war-like situation, let's say an enemy has attacked, the leader cannot panic. He said, let me call the council of ministers, everybody, and sit. What do you think? If you think alone, the problem will become big. If you think together, the problem will dissolve. So I remember this very famous statement that I heard once. It is not only the situation that matters, but your mindset matters first. So get in the right mindset. So there are a lot of people who are evolved in their meditations. They go sit down for 15 minutes, calm down their mind, and they find a solution. A disturbed mind can never solve a problem. A calm and quiet mind is what gives a solution naturally. You talk to people, discuss with people, but never react. And if you are already in the path of meditation, believe me, your mind will give a solution on its own. But that's for evolved people, and beginners like us, require the support of friends for discussing and making our mind calm.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Sambasivarao Kota has raised his hand. So before I go to the next chat item, I would like to ask Dr. Sambasivarao Kota to unmute and ask the query.
Thank you, sir. It's a very nice talk. Many times students will listen whatever you say and that they don't do anything what you say. How to deal with it?
So I'll tell you, our duty is to tell.
Sir, just for your information, he is a very well-renowned professor from IIT Bombay who has asked you the question.
Thank you.
Yes,
It's
sir.
an honor, sir. It's an honor. And I could actually feel it. It's coming from a teacher. So I'll tell
They
you,
they agree everything that you say, but they don't do anything.
I'll tell you, there is a similar problem happened with one of the greatest teachers in Indian culture, Veda Vyasa. Okay, whom we call as Adi Guru, and his name we celebrate Guru Purnima. This is a normal tragedy over every generation. Teachers will tell, but students will not listen. So now this is only about classroom. Now think about it. Veda Vyasa was a guru of both Pandavas and the Kauravas, isn't it? He's from that Vansha. They are actually almost grandchildren to Veda Vyasa. So when the Mahabharata war was happening, they all tried. The gurus tried, Bhishmacharya tried, Kripacharya tried, all teachers telling, "Bacha log jagada mat karo." Okay, everybody trying, but not listening. What to do? Then they say, okay, let's call the greatest man alive, Veda Vyasa ji, out. Vedas also told, don't fight. But the Mahabharata war had to happen. You know what Veda Vyasa did? Natural frustration. He said, wait, all the wisdom I had with me, I told them they're not applying. But you know what? At least I can write it down. What he did, he wrote all his experience of Mahabharata and saying that this is how problems happen. He's a character in Mahabharata only. Okay, and you'll be surprised. But Pandava Kaurava is gone, but Mahabharata is still guiding people and new generation students. So what I have discovered is that, if you have knowledge, not only give it to students directly, give that knowledge indirectly to the students. And that method is called textualization. Write it down. You'll be surprised. And you are from IIT. Publications really help in expanding our knowledge to a larger student base. Okay, so I've written Corporate Chanakya. I have students in Mumbai University. They don't listen. That's okay. But what is happening is that I know there are indirect students. So one is Arjuna and Dronacharya. But there is an Eklavya and Dronacharya also. So if your direct student is not listening to you, don't get frustrated. Don't let the knowledge be devalued. So when you write it down, today I have, my books have sold in, million copies. So I would be surprised that somebody who is indirectly actually benefits more rather than my direct students who don't listen to it. So I would say start writing, publishing, textualizing, reach out your student base to larger. So एक दो नहीं सुनता है तो 20 लोग सुन लेंगे. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now Radhakrishnan sir, I have a question. I have already posted it on the chat box also, but I thought I'll just ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, is it necessary for any human being to associate with not trustworthy people? They're not trustworthy people. So is it okay to associate, or we have to be away from such people? What do you think? Or we have to adopt the middle ground? This is just a life lesson I want to take from you.
Ani, can you repeat the question? The question is not clear.
No. What I said is it necessary for us to associate with people who are not trustworthy? So do you think, because see, there are two ways you can do here. You avoid such people, you erase them, or you maintain a rapport to the extent that is needed, or you adopt a middle ground. So which one will you suggest?
Yeah. So please understand, if there is no trust, that association anyway will not remain.
Okay.
Because the very basic foundation of any relationship or association is trust, isn't it true?
Yes.
But there are two categories of people. One whom you can avoid, but one whom you cannot avoid. For example, let's say there is an employee. Okay, he's not trustworthy. Then you said, okay, go now. Okay, so disassociate in some way. Very easy. Or there is a colleague somewhere, there is nothing to do. Lena dena kuch nahi hai, chalo associate. But imagine if he's a family member. Then what do? You can't say, tu mera bhai nahi abhi se. That is all filmy dialogue. You have to look at that bugger every day. True or no?
Yes.
Then what do you do? Okay, where smartness comes. So if there are people who are not trustworthy, then you have to be smart in dealing with them, because you cannot avoid that in this birth.
Okay.
Okay. So that time you should have to be smart, because if you give that too much freedom, then anyway the trust is broken. Okay, but you will get frustrated over it. So that is what we call a locking system. You know what is locking system? See, if you trust somebody, you leave the whole house to them, isn't it true? You don't have to worry. But why do you keep the lock? The lock is not, I don't trust him, but it is better for him to avoid stealing. So usko bachane ke liye hai. So when we go out and we don't trust certain people, we make sure the lock is correct. So there is some part of our life which should be locked. If you don't lock it, you have been stupid. But if you trust completely, you can live the whole house. So that's why it's very important. Test before you trust. Chanakya says test everybody, but if you trust somebody, then you don't have to test anybody. But lack of trust, don't take it lightly. Thank you.
So you say we have to keep away from such kind of people.
Two categories again, those who can be kept away permanently, but those who have to be managed because they are part of your life. Maybe a relative, maybe a friend, maybe a neighbor.
Okay.
So you have to manage them, isn't it?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, Mr. VVBN Rao, sir, has raised his hand. I now request him to unmute and ask you a question, sir. Sir, you are muted. Rao, sir, you are unmute. Can you please unmute?
Sir, unmute yourself, sir, on the phone. Rao, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Again, muted. Rao, you're muted. Sorry. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Ignorance is said to be the primary cause of fear, and fear is responsible for hampering the growth and development of individual and the personality. In yoga, it is said that tapas, swadhyaya, and ishvara pranidhana, tapas, swadhyaya, ishvara pranidhana are the three components that help in the development of, the ability to control or overcome the fear complex. Your kind comments, please.
Are you quoting from Patanjali Yoga Sutra?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you just repeat what you just said? I was not clear in the shloka, the sutra that you read.
Yeah, what I mean to say is that fear can be overcome by tapas or swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is the acquisition of knowledge, the continuous process and other things. And then further, Ishwar Pranidhana, surrender to the, of course, it may be Almighty or it may be any other concept whereby the individual can overcome the fear complex and he can do the things that your kind comment that what I would do. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got it. So the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is giving a very beautiful way of handling fear. It is tapasya and swadhyaya. Okay.
Thank
so you're fearing something. What do you do is tapasya. You have practice of self-discovery and tapasya spiritual study the problem. Swadhyaya is studying the problem. So let's say my stomach is aching and all those things, tapasya, but bear it. After 7 days, it will be over. But the thing is that you have to study sometimes. Swadhyaya. What is the problem? Maybe you go to an expert like a doctor, he will do some test and all those things. So by study, you come to the root cause of the problem. And once you know the root cause of the problem, you get knowledge. And knowledge will take away fear from you. So become fearless. The answer is not ignorance. To become fearless, the answer is to get knowledge through the process of tapasya or through swadhyaya. In fact, the best commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is Vivekananda. My suggestion is please read that. It is a very popular publication by Ramakrishna Mission. Okay, I loved it. I have read various versions, but I love that as my best commentary. There he explains the same point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, VBN Rao, you're from which place, sir? May we know? Just curious, because you have asked about yoga. Are you a yoga teacher or what? I just wanted to know.
No, okay. Huh?
Okay.
I'm the resident of Hyderabad.
Okay, great.
I'm the resident of Hyderabad for the time being. I belong to the Tenali, Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh. I was born and brought up there. And I worked at LNIP, Gwalior, and Union Ministry of Education and other things. Later on, University of Hyderabad, I served as the Director of Physical Education. I belong to sports faculty. I was a former national weightlifter and a bodybuilder, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you because I'm also from Tenali. You're my senior in the school. That's why I was not very sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Sir, before we proceed, there are a few more questions, and I would like to seek your, opinion whether to proceed. And is it
We could
okay,
continue,
sir?
sir. We could continue.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. This question is from Sombatla Achyuta. As you said, experience is of great value. Whom to connect for retired or on verge of retirement for win-win situation? I mean, he is asking whether to connect to retired or those who are at the verge of, retirement.
So I think depend your age group also. So that let's say I'm 30 years old. So retired maybe 65, 70 years old, or verge of retirement could be 55. So anyway, they are more experienced than me compared to my age group. But also we have to understand experience of which field. So let's say there is a physics professor and you have a geography question. He may be senior by age, okay, but he may not be in my subject. So it is not only the age factor or the experience factor, is also the subject matter expert is important. So we always say this, ask to a history teacher. Don't ask a history question to a mathematics teacher and he doesn't answer it. What kind of a teacher are you? So sometimes it is your responsibility to ask yourself and judge whom to go for consulting or guidance, whether he or she is a subject matter. For example, if I have to learn cooking, I think I should learn it from my, parents' generation, my mother, my grandmother kind of a thing. But if you go to a younger brother, no. So the whole idea is that a subject matter expert along with age, both are important while asking. If they are retired also, it's actually good. You know why? Because they have more time. Okay, so retired people have so much value, so much experience, but nobody goes. That's a problem. In fact, in our culture, retired people were more valued because a lot of people give wisdom and guidance. गाँव में मुखिया जो होता था ना, वो राजा के जैसा बैठता था, सब आते थे. But unfortunately, the children are more exposed and they think that they don't know everything. No, retirement is a beautiful time to serve the society through your experience and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. So if any of the audience have any query, you may please unmute yourself and ask the question, please. Sombatla Achyuta has raised his hand. May I ask you to please unmute and ask the query, please?
Thank you, sir. I am Achyuta Murthy, and it was a great hearing you on a various subject, and concisely you have presented your presentation very good. So the point what I want to request from you, as you rightly said, that experience is a great value, but unfortunately those who are retired or on the verge of retirement, suppose now I am having at least 4 or 5 years of experience on the verge of retirement, I'm 53. So after retirement or on the verge of retirement, is there any association where we can join, our experience can be used by the society?
Very good. So what's your subject area of working? Where do you
I am in finance, sir. I am in the finance, this thing.
In fact, I'll tell you.
I am in Mumbai. I am in finance field. So just I thought, because I have more than 25 years experience, I am a law graduate and in finance field, I worked at the senior position. So just I was thinking, now we have earned so much and we want to give back to the society where I can associate and engage myself. So I'm looking for any association or for any team where I can associate with them.
Yeah. So
and if you can give your contact details, I can wish because your contact details.
Sure. So I'll tell you one thing very clearly that, people like you with so much experience in finance actually are very valuable. Today, if you look at the young generation, they may be getting a lot of opportunities in the financial world, but they require guidance. So I'll give you 2 tips where you can go and maybe give service. Or you do approach colleges or education institutions where you can go and teach and share your experience. So a lot of MBA colleges or BCom colleges, depending on, what's your contribution, you can go and share there. Second thing is that I would suggest that, be a part of, I would say, some of the associations. Now, what are professional associations doing is the hand holding the next generation also. Okay. So what I would suggest is that if you have enough time, start. And today I'll tell you something very interesting. You can make small module design program and you can go and teach also. You will be surprised. I came into the Mumbai University for just some guest lectures and today I'm a director. So I would suggest that since you're planning your retirement now, go to education institutions. Education institutions value the experience. 1 or 2 times you go and afterward they will make it part of their particular community. So welcome to Teachers Club.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sri Venkatesh, could you please ask your query by unmuting?
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Very good evening, sir. Thank you for the your presentation.
Sir, you want to put on your video?
No
issue.
sir.
Be comfortable.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, currently I am myself in the quarantine, so I
Go
don't
ahead,
want to
sir.
put up
Go ahead,
video.
sir. Go ahead, sir.
So
Sorry.
I wanted to ask a few tips basically on the leadership in terms of somebody who who's taking on a leadership charge newly. What is the do's and don'ts you will say, and what one should look up to a leader?
Thank you for the question. I know I have to be precise because the time is over. I would suggest do read my book. It is called Chanakya 7 Secrets of Leadership. Chanakya 7 Secrets of Leadership.
Yes, in fact, I bought it a couple of weeks back. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I could not read it.
Yeah.
I'm just coming out of it. So.
Absolutely. In fact, that is a book where the whole theory of leadership is already given. And if you look at do's and don'ts, it's a big list. A leader should be a role model. Number one, if you tell others that आपको ये करना है, पहले आप करके दिखाओ. So there is a statement or I would say shloka that comes in Bhagavad Gita. Yad yad acharati shreshtaha tad tad devi itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. So as the leader behaves, everybody else behaves. If the leader is slack and lazy, they will also be. Very important. The first thing to do is become a role model leader, not by giving lectures. Acharati. Acharati means by doing it. Show by doing it. Don't tell it. Even in children, as they say, to you, they watch you. Okay. So no, every political leader is known for giving bhashan. Don't talk about leadership, deliver results. So showing is very important. So be a role model leader. And not to do, all of us know, things which are to be avoided. You cannot, have lack of integrity. Your moral is very important. So if you follow all these things, you'll become a role model leader. And if you continue doing the other part of it, you'll never be respected as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. With this, we are ending Q&A.
I have just a small point to make.
Yes, sir. Please.
With your permission, madam.
Yes, sir. Please.
Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai.
Yeah.
One small way to understand it further. We just keep listening to all this. Many of such talks, maybe some of them. And then while we are listening, we're very sure we got to remember and follow all these. Because these are the ways which are positive ways to overcome any difficulty in life. But right at the boiling pot, you just lose everything. I think so, many of us. So, how does one remember to remind ourselves to be able to put it in practice and not just forget it after this lecture or webinar, motivational talk? Some guidance, sir, humbly.
Very, very, very nice question. See, we have become Kansains. We listen a lot. We are now having a lot of seminars to attend, but when it comes to practice, we are not able to practice it. So, sometimes it's good to listen to all those things, but, in reality, it's very different. So I'll tell you the method for it. There are 3 methods to it. Okay, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Okay, very, very clear. It starts with listening. Okay, it has to start with listening only, because without listening, you will never get knowledge also. Okay, so keep listening, keep listening, keep listening. In fact, in our culture, it is Shravana Matrena Jnanam Bhavati. You will get to know about that knowledge only by listening, Shravana. But don't stop here. I was requesting some of you to please take down notes. Nobody takes notes. और एक चाणक्य के ऊपर बोलेगा, दूसरा कोई और किसके ऊपर बोलेगा, सबका सुन लेंगे. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Sir,
Sir,
you are muted. Huh?
No. He showed me the pen. Yeah, he has written it down. Okay. So first,
even the book.
Oh, wow, thank you. So what you do first is listening. So it is the right step you are taking. But what happens after this? We get into our practical life and we forget. We don't refer to the notes. So I would suggest that every day for 5 minutes, okay, before you go to bed, okay, reflect on those thoughts. Okay, that is where Manan happens. So what happens? Suppose 10 people have listened, but 5 people think about it. Oh, cha, now how do I look at this? What is Anvikshiki? What is Vriddha Sanyoga? So you start interpreting it yourself. Manana, Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means you have to experience it. And you can never experience a knowledge till you do it. Okay, you can never experience, because it becomes theoretical. It is like listening to a full course on swimming without getting into water. I know all the theories of swimming. There is a butterfly stroke, there is a free stroke, there is this backstroke. Very good. Oh, no. I am a master. I did a PhD in swimming. And a good coach knows, and that is where the guru comes in. A good coach knows, after all the theory, push him into the water. Therefore, it is very important. All the theory should be practiced. Take one step at a time. You don't have to practice everything. In fact, I'll quote Swami Chinmayananji. So he was teaching about Strita Prajna Lakshana, great man's knowledge. The 20 qualities. So one person came, I have understood the 20 qualities, but it's very difficult to follow 20 qualities. And Swami Chinmayananji said, listen, my dear friend, take up one quality, any one quality, and practice it sincerely. The remaining 19 will follow you. हमारा प्रॉब्लम क्या 20 का 21st का मोटिवेशनल लेक्चर 22nd, लेकिन करते कुछ नहीं है. एक से शुरुआत करो, बाकी आ जाएगा. So you decide which is that one thing which you can practice practically. You will become an expert in the field. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the great insight once again. Thank you. Indeed. An honor.
Thank you, Aduriti sir, also. You've been listening very quietly. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I have made my notes also.
So, thank you, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, for your exceptionally motivating speech on positive ways to overcome uncertainties in life. We all really soaked into it. I'm sure all the listeners have been immensely benefited by your most practical yet simple to implement suggestions to deal with various professional and personal lives, various situations in professional and personal lives. The way you have connected all of us to the topic and by your depth of knowledge is commendable, sir. We are very fortunate to have you with us today. Once again, most sincerely, I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation and for sparing your valuable time, sir. I would like to thank also Chiranjeevi Devulapalli Ajay Krishna and his parents, Srimati Kranti Devulapalli and Shri Vijay Devulapalli Garu. God bless you, Ajay Krishna, abundantly. Thank you for coming forward and offering Ganesh prayer here in a very short period of notice. I also would like to thank all the audiences over here who have shown interest by being here, by listening, and by also asking queries. I'm sure there are many takeaways for each of us from this excellent talk of Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. We are coming to an end, and I would now request all of you to please stand up and join us in singing the national anthem. Thank you. You all may now unmute yourself And
Jana
Janagana Mana Adinayak Jaya He
Punjab Sindh Gujarat
Jana Jana Gita Ranga Tava Shubha Naam Tava Shubha Shishmage Gaye Tava Jaya Gana Janagana Mangala Dayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata
Jaya
Jaya
He
He
Jaya
Jaya
He
He
Jaya He
Jaya He Jaya 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 He.
Jai Hind.
Okay. Thank you.
We will all end the meeting. Thank you all very much. Look forward to seeing you all once again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Namaskaram andarki. Shubharatri.
Program.